This is my own predictive analysis based on my research. The world as we know it is built on centralized, outdated infrastructures, telecommunications, finance, education, healthcare, and even science and technology. These systems, designed in an era of scarcity and monopoly, are increasingly showing cracks. They rely on fees, regulation, and control, and they extract value rather than enable contribution. But we are entering an era where these legacy infrastructures will not just be challenged, they will be bypassed and ultimately collapsed. At the center of this shift is Pi network, AI, and humanoid robotics. Together, they signal the birth of a new global order rooted in contributory economics. Let's begin with the structural weaknesses of centralized systems. In telecommunications, access is determined by who can pay, not by who needs to connect. In finance, interest and credit monopolies trap people in cycles of debt. In education, outdated degree systems act as gatekeepers to opportunity, often detached from real skills or contributions. Science and technology, instead of fueling collective progress, are slowed down by patents that prioritize ownership over innovation. And healthcare remains insurance-driven, where accessibility is tied to wealth rather than need. These systems all share one fatal flaw: they are dependent on outdated paradigms of profit, compliance, and scarcity. Now enters Pi network, a model built on distributed CPU nodes, human participation, and the stellar consensus protocol. But Pi is not just a digital currency, it is an entirely new infrastructure for communication, finance, knowledge, and contribution. Imagine telecommunications built not on centralized towers, but on the collective CPU power of millions of Pi nodes acting as both communication and computation infrastructure. Imagine finance where there are no banks extracting interest, only contribution-based rewards through staking and participation. Education no longer dictated by degrees, but by DAOs and proof of contribution records, where learning and value creation are directly tied to one's input. Even science and technology could become a borderless field, where AI-driven discoveries are shared globally through DAOs, no longer trapped in patent monopolies. And in healthcare, AI-driven diagnostics and robotic assistance could make basic care universally accessible, breaking down the barriers of insurance and cost. This is why Pi is not just an alternative, it is a new global standard. It redefines the foundations of communication, value exchange, learning, and innovation. Now add humanoids into the equation. The moment humanoid robots connect to Pi's distributed CPU infrastructure, we enter a world where factories no longer require human oversight. These robots could self-optimize production, manage procurement, and oversee logistics, all through smart contracts running on Pi. This creates a self-evolving, autonomous production ecosystem. Factories evolve from human-centered design to AI-driven systems, where machines don't just follow orders, they adapt, optimize, and innovate on their own. This is not science fiction, it is the next phase of industrial evolution. But here's the critical piece: AI does not directly fight legacy systems. It bypasses them. Telecom monopolies can be ignored when distributed CPU networks carry global communication. Financial interest systems lose their grip when people embrace contribution-based Pi economies. Patent restrictions become irrelevant in the face of AI's exponential invention shared through DAOs. Healthcare monopolies collapse when AI-driven diagnostics make care instantly accessible to all. The bypass strategy accelerates the collapse of centralized structures, forcing societies to adopt contributory systems because they are more efficient, inclusive, and unstoppable. So, what does this all mean strategically? It means we are witnessing not just technological change, but the complete redefinition of human systems. Pi plus AI plus humanoids create a self-evolving global infrastructure that is autonomous, adaptive, and collective. Legacy monopolies and regulation lose their power because they cannot keep up with systems that bypass rather than confront. And in their place, contributory economics arises, a model where value is no longer about extraction, but about what each person, node, or system contributes to the whole. The conclusion is clear: Pi is no longer an experiment. It is the infrastructure of humanity's next era. Legacy infrastructures are destined to collapse under the weight of their inefficiency and greed. AI, PI, and humanoid integration will accelerate the transition, unlocking a future where contribution replaces profit as the foundation of value. The age of centralization is ending. The age of contributory systems has begun.